My boyfriend believed he had won 20 million in the lottery. He ended our relationship immediately, claiming our social classes were now completely different. You were far too inferior for someone like me. Soon afterward, he began dating one of my coworkers. I could only laugh because he had overlooked one very important detail. His lottery ticket belonged to the previous drawing. Later, I lowered the window of my Maserati and looked directly at them. You two are far too inferior for me, so let us end everything here. Mateo had been standing before me with an unbearably arrogant expression. Elena Vargas, I have just won 20 million in the lottery. So this is what everything is about? I asked while studying his face. Of course, you have probably never seen that much money before, have you? My mother always said that different classes of people exist in this world. Now that I am at the top, you and I are no longer equals. I could not stop myself from laughing. 20 million. And he already believed he belonged among society's most powerful families. I had not even told him that my father was Don Javier Castillo. He owned several buildings earning more than 20 million annually from rent alone. That did not even include the companies controlled by Grupo Castillo. Still, I was honestly relieved to finally be rid of someone like Mateo. It was always better to cut poisonous ties before they became impossible to escape. There were no tears over lost love. Only sleepless nights caused by financial calculations. Mateo glanced sideways at me and straightened his shoulders with ridiculous pride. Although you paid 50 reais for the ticket, I was the person who purchased it. So do not expect to receive a single centavo from me. Mateo had always dreamed of becoming wealthy overnight through lottery tickets. Whenever payment was required, however, he suddenly had an excuse ready. His phone had no battery, or his bank payment mysteriously failed. Apparently, banks had nothing more important than rejecting his tiny transactions. My mother never liked you either, Mateo continued without the slightest hesitation. She always thought you were vulgar and completely unsuitable for our family. Remember the last time you met her and brought those cheap, in-branded gifts? It was one of the most embarrassing moments of my entire life. You were the embarrassing one, I answered while meeting his arrogant stare. God scattered wisdom across the world, but your family opened an umbrella. I still remembered the first time I met his mother, Carmen. I had given her a pure wool scarf from an exclusive Italian designer. The scarf alone had cost a 5-figure amount. I had also chosen a French haute couture perfume especially for her. Now, according to them, those gifts were cheap and completely unbranded. They reminded me of ordinary fish splashing proudly while imagining themselves as royalty. I will not argue with you because I am now an elite person, Mateo declared. Since we are ending things, however, we should settle everything properly. Why do you not sell back all the gifts I once gave you? That was typical Mateo, remaining unbelievably stingy even after believing himself wealthy. There is no need because I still have every gift you gave me. I will return each and every one of them without hesitation. That skincare kit costing 9 reais and 99 centavos frightened me. I was afraid using it might permanently damage my skin. The shirt and tie costing 199 reais and 99 centavos remained untouched. I did not want to risk developing an allergic reaction. Then there was that 10 real box of bread you brought me. I feared becoming ill when its price could not even cover medical expenses. The people gathered nearby immediately burst into uncontrollable laughter. Mateo's face turned bright red as humiliation spread across his features. Stop talking only about those things. What about the money I sent you? You did send me money, I replied while opening the records on my phone. On Valentine's Day, you sent 5 reais and 20 centavos. On the 4th of July, you sent 6 reais and 60 centavos. At Christmas, you sent 8 reais and 80 centavos. You were always so thoughtful, Mateo, and breathtakingly generous. I laughed as the crowd around us struggled to remain quiet. Even my cousin in elementary school gives people more money than that. I had once believed his tiny gestures were sweet and genuinely thoughtful. Back then, I never cared about the monetary value of anything. Looking back, my mind must have contained enough water to fill Lake Michigan. Mateo pushed out his chest again and attempted to recover his dignity. That was the past, but everything is completely different now. I have won 20 million and can purchase anything I desire. You no longer deserve to stand beside someone like me. I nodded calmly, refusing to give him the emotional reaction he wanted. In that case, why do you not return all the gifts I gave you? Mateo laughed as though my question were the most ridiculous thing imaginable. The things you gave me must all be fake. How much could any of those worthless objects possibly be worth? Mateo had grown up struggling financially after his father passed away. He and Carmen had depended upon each other for many years. To protect his fragile pride, I always removed the price tags from his gifts. I also avoided anything displaying large and unmistakable luxury logos. The belt you are wearing is a limited edition Gucci piece worth 1,000 reais. Those shoes are from an exclusive designer collection and cost another 1,000. That jacket is from the same brand and cost 3,000 reais. I listed every item slowly, one after another. Mateo's confident expression collapsed before my eyes. Do you think I'm an idiot? He demanded angrily. You could never afford authentic luxury products. You probably purchased imitations because you knew I could not recognize the difference. I calmly opened another folder on my phone. Here are the purchase histories, receipts, and authentication records. If you still doubt me, you may contact every boutique yourself. The scarf and perfume I gave Carmen were equally expensive. I will overlook those items because arguing with her would become exhausting. For everything else, you can simply give me 100,000 reais. Over the years, I had actually spent more than 200,000 reais on Mateo. Asking for the full amount would probably make Carmen torment me indefinitely. Mateo clenched his teeth while desperately calculating his remaining options. Nobody knows whether those things were authentic or false. Let us settle everything for 50,000 reais. I will transfer 10,000 now and pay the remainder after collecting my prize. That arrangement is acceptable, I replied without showing any emotion. Compared with my actual bank balance, the amount was merely a drop in the ocean. Who would ever reject free money from an arrogant former boyfriend? After 10,000 reais appeared in my account, I stood and faced him. Thank you, Mateo. This is the first time you have ever been genuinely generous. He looked annoyed but still attempted to preserve his superiority. Do not come looking for me again, you unfortunate loser. Never try contacting me because your bad luck might damage my new life. I nodded enthusiastically, ensuring he clearly understood my complete agreement. After Mateo left, I called Viejo Ramon and requested my Bentley from the garage. I was completely exhausted from pretending to be an ordinary office employee. That night, Mateo posted 2 photographs on Instagram. The first showed his lottery ticket, while the second showed him inside a Maserati dealership. His caption sounded like something stolen from a meaningless motivational poster. Focus on working hard and loving yourself. Luck will follow you when you smile brightly enough. I nearly choked on my dinner while reading his ridiculous message. I was preparing to delete his number when something caught my attention. The winning numbers were partially hidden, but the drawing number remained clearly visible. The ticket belonged to drawing number 381. However, its numbers did not match the winning numbers from that drawing. I immediately checked the official results online and discovered the truth. Mateo had compared his ticket with the numbers from an earlier drawing. Perhaps he had watched a replay or opened the wrong result page. Whatever happened, he genuinely believed he had won 20 million. The situation was about to become extremely entertaining. I could hardly wait to see his expression after learning the truth. During a break at work, I heard Isabella boasting to another colleague. My boyfriend has just moved into Palacio Dorado residences. I stopped walking because the coincidence was almost unbelievable. Don Javier had also purchased an apartment for me in that building. I rarely used it because my primary residence was more convenient. Since Mateo worked nearby, I had once given him a spare key. I allowed him to stay there whenever he needed to work late. I told him the apartment was only a temporary rental. He moved inside without questioning how its rent exceeded his monthly salary. I was already planning to recover the keys when Isabella continued speaking. He calls me his lucky girl because he won 20 million after meeting me. Everyone surrounding her gasped with obvious envy. Palacio Dorado and 20 million. I asked while pretending to be surprised. Does your boyfriend happen to be named Mateo? Isabella immediately gave me a suspicious and defensive look. You know him? Do not even consider stealing him simply because he is wealthy. A man like Mateo is completely beyond your reach. Of course, her mysterious millionaire boyfriend was Mateo. He had been seeing Isabella while we were still together. Apparently, he truly believed Isabella belonged among high society. If Don Javier heard about this, he would probably laugh for several hours. Isabella constantly displayed imitation designer handbags and replaced them every day. For someone unable to distinguish authentic products from imitations, she appeared extremely wealthy. Mateo must have believed he had discovered a genuine princess. They were truly the perfect couple. In reality, they were simply two fortune hunters who had discovered each other. I silently wished them happiness and hoped they remained together forever. That evening, Isabella posted a photograph of herself with Mateo. No more waiting. The person I have been waiting for has finally arrived. 5 minutes later, Mateo posted the same photograph with an embarrassing caption. Us. Later, Gabriella, the manager of my favorite luxury boutique, sent me a message. She explained that several new collections had arrived and invited me to visit. Since I had nothing more important planned, I decided to stop by. The moment I entered, I saw Mateo and Isabella standing together inside. The only sales assistant looked at me before completely ignoring my presence. She continued assisting them with an exaggerated smile. Isabella wore an outfit covered in enormous designer logos. Unfortunately, the pieces belonged to the previous season's collection. Meanwhile, I wore a simple shirt and carried an ordinary canvas shopping bag. It was understandable that the assistant considered me unworthy of her attention. Isabella eventually noticed me and immediately narrowed her eyes. What kind of people are they allowing inside this boutique now? Mateo looked over his shoulder and joined her attack. What are you doing here, Elena? You cannot afford a single item sold inside this place. I gave him a calm and almost amused smile. Does your family own this boutique? I did not realize customers needed your permission before looking around. The assistant clearly decided to take their side. I apologize, miss, but our least expensive item costs 30,000 reais. If you cannot afford that amount, you should not waste your valuable time. I laughed silently because she had absolutely no idea whom she was supporting. After showing Isabella several handbags, the assistant waited eagerly for a purchase. Darling, I want this one and the second bag on that shelf. The assistant smiled as though Isabella had demonstrated extraordinary intelligence. You have wonderful taste, miss. Those are among our most popular pieces, and your eye is truly remarkable. Pleased by the flattery, Isabella placed one bag over her shoulder. She admired herself in the mirror before noticing my canvas bag again. Elena, are you not embarrassed to carry something so cheap? Do you not have a job or any sense of personal dignity? I carry a canvas bag because I plan to purchase several things later. People should think responsibly and protect the environment whenever possible. What is wrong with you? Isabella demanded with visible frustration. Does your family live beside the ocean or something? Why are you suddenly so concerned about saving the planet? She turned impatiently toward Mateo and pointed at more handbags. I want this one, that one, and every bag displayed beside them. Attempting to sound like an endlessly generous millionaire, Mateo nodded confidently. Buy everyone you want, darling. The sales assistant's eyes immediately filled with excitement. I picked up a black handbag and examined its craftsmanship more closely. The assistant rushed toward me as though I had touched something dangerous. I am sorry, miss, but that is our newest exclusive model. It costs 150,000 reais and is reserved for VIP customers. Please do not touch it because you might leave marks on the material. Isabella laughed loudly and turned toward everyone nearby. Elena, remove your dirty hands from that handbag. You could never afford it, even after surrendering everything you own. I was about to answer when a firm voice came from the entrance. Who said Elena could not afford that handbag? The assistant immediately froze, and all color disappeared from her face. Gabriella, the boutique manager, entered while holding a cup of coffee. She walked directly toward me and apologized without hesitation. I am terribly sorry, Elena. I stepped outside to collect your coffee, and this new employee misunderstood everything. Gabriella turned toward the assistant with a deeply disappointed expression. Elena is one of our most valued VIP clients. She receives priority access to every new collection before anyone else. Only after she declines an item may we offer it to other customers. The assistant became completely pale and began apologizing repeatedly. Mateo's face turned red as he stared at Gabriella in disbelief. There must be some mistake. Elena is only an ordinary office employee. How could she possibly qualify as one of your VIP customers? Please be careful because she may be attempting to deceive you. Gabriella gave Mateo and Isabella an icy, unforgiving stare. To qualify as a VIP customer here, someone must spend over $1 million annually. She then turned toward me with a warm and respectful expression. I apologize, Elena, but I must ask these two customers to leave. We will be closing the boutique privately so you may shop comfortably. Mateo and Isabella were still processing what had happened when security escorted them outside. The door closed behind them, leaving them humiliated on the pavement. Gabriella guided me into the private lounge reserved for the boutique's best clients. The staff offered me fresh coffee and several catalogs from the latest collections. My original plan had been to relax and perhaps purchase something distracting. However, watching Mateo and Isabella face humiliation brought unexpected satisfaction. No matter how desperately Mateo climbed by stepping upon others, he misunderstood true success. He would never understand what it genuinely meant to stand at the top. While I examined the catalogs, Gabriella approached with a concerned expression. I hope their behavior did not destroy your experience. Elena, would you like me to issue a formal notice banning them from our boutiques? There is no need, Gabriella, I replied while closing the catalogue. I believe they have already understood the message. Gabriella nodded with visible relief and returned to her desk. Still, allowing everything to end so easily did not feel entirely satisfying. Mateo had not merely been ungrateful. He had crossed boundaries I never realized someone could cross. Isabella was simply an extension of him, equally arrogant and completely delusional. If they insisted upon creating their own downfall, I could provide the necessary tools. The following day, I visited the apartment in Palacio Dorado Residences. Mateo still believed the property was only a rented apartment. He had filled it with cheap furniture in an attempt to impress Isabella. Everything inside looked like an imitation of luxury rather than luxury itself. I used the spare key Mateo never knew existed and entered quietly. The apartment was empty because they were probably both working. In Mateo's case, he was probably pretending his employment still mattered. I immediately arranged for every lock inside the apartment to be changed. Then I left a formal notice explaining that the temporary rental arrangement had ended. While the final adjustments were being completed, the building concierge approached me. So you are the actual owner of this apartment? Mr. Mateo requested several renovations and claimed they were gifts for his girlfriend. I looked at the concierge and laughed silently. What kind of person renovated a property he did not even own? There is no need to worry because there will be no further renovations. If Mateo appears, please ask him to contact me directly. The concierge looked confused, but he respectfully agreed. Later that day, I posted a photograph on social media. It showed the panoramic view from the apartment's enormous windows. Nothing feels better than returning home after a long journey. I truly missed my peaceful little corner. The post attracted attention almost immediately. Isabella was the first person to leave a public comment. How strange. I thought this apartment belonged to my boyfriend. I ignored her comment, but satisfaction spread quietly through me. That evening, Mateo sent me an angry message. Elena, what are you doing? Why did you change the locks when this situation is completely unfair? The agreement was temporary, Mateo, and you clearly remember that. I have decided to end it. You have started a new life, so you no longer require my apartment. Mateo attempted to pressure me into changing my decision. Isabella is already planning to move into this apartment. You cannot suddenly do this to both of us. I laughed but maintained a formal and controlled tone. Of course I can. In fact, I suggest finding another place immediately. Palacio Dorado Residences is not suitable for everyone, as you already know. Mateo stopped responding because he finally understood the message. Still, I knew he would not surrender without searching for another opportunity. I called my lawyer and requested a complete review of the property documents. Everything connected to the apartment remained registered exclusively under my name. I wanted confirmation that Mateo and Isabella had no possible legal argument. During the following days, I watched Mateo justify everything through social media. He uploaded old photographs while pretending he still lived in a luxurious residence. Isabella began displaying designer shoes and handbags that clearly did not belong to her. They were probably borrowed or purchased using money Mateo no longer possessed. Their lies became increasingly obvious with every passing day. The final confrontation arrived during an otherwise peaceful morning. I visited the company where Isabella and I both worked. She stood in the hallway surrounded by colleagues, telling another ridiculous story. The moment Isabella noticed me, her confident smile immediately disappeared. What are you doing here? Did you think appearing after everything would somehow be entertaining? I smiled warmly and walked closer. Isabella, darling, I only came to collect several important documents. Since I am already here, however, I should congratulate you. You truly found someone perfectly suited to your personality. You and Mateo are the perfect couple. You are both so obsessed with status that neither of you recognizes reality. Every colleague surrounding Isabella became completely silent. She attempted to respond, but I continued before she found the words. Just so you understand, Mateo never won 20 million. He compared his ticket with the numbers from the wrong lottery drawing. Perhaps you should encourage him to purchase another ticket. He could use the loose change remaining after buying your imitation handbags. Isabella's expression changed completely. For the first time since meeting her, I saw her become speechless. I walked away without looking back. I knew the performance had finally ended for both of them. As I approached my car, I realized revenge was not simply about exposing lies. It was about showing them they could never become what they pretended to represent. I entered my car and took a long, peaceful breath. Some people never learn, but I had learned something extremely valuable. Never underestimate the power of truth against people who survive through deception. Several weeks passed after Mateo and Isabella were publicly exposed. My life continued peacefully, but their consequences arrived quickly. Honestly, every consequence they faced had been completely deserved. Mateo's illusion of wealth collapsed as quickly as he had constructed it. After losing the Palacio Dorado apartment, he searched for somewhere cheaper. Without savings or actual prize money, he eventually returned to Carmen's house. He attempted to preserve his image by sharing old photographs online. He continued pretending that he remained wealthy and successful. Eventually, people began asking uncomfortable questions beneath every post. Where is your wealthy girlfriend, Mateo? And what happened to the 20 million you supposedly won? Shortly afterward, Mateo deleted every social media account. I heard that he continued purchasing lottery tickets for several months. He desperately hoped another ticket might reverse his situation. Ironically, none of them brought the miracle he expected. Isabella experienced an even greater level of public humiliation. The truth about her relationship with Mateo spread throughout the office. Her decision to pursue a man without the fortune he promised became workplace entertainment. Some colleagues began questioning how she afforded designer handbags and shoes. Her salary clearly could not support the lifestyle she displayed. Eventually, Isabella resigned because she could no longer tolerate the whispers. People said she was searching for another wealthy boyfriend. Unfortunately for her, the reputation she created always arrived before she did. As for me, my life had never felt calmer. With the apartment empty again, I decided to give it a meaningful purpose. I transformed the space into temporary housing for young women beginning their careers. They needed somewhere secure and comfortable while establishing independent lives. Knowing the apartment now helped others brought me extraordinary satisfaction. No amount of money could purchase the peace the decision gave me. I remained active on social media, but my posts never became extravagant. I continued sharing small and genuine pieces of my everyday life. Mateo and Isabella never understood the quiet strength found in authenticity. My life did not need constant display to remain extraordinary. In the end, the lesson became perfectly clear. Some people do not want to grow because they only want shortcuts. They will even step upon others while desperately trying to appear successful. Time, however, possesses a remarkable way of returning everything to its proper place. Mateo and Isabella learned that truth through the most difficult consequences. I learned that the greatest revenge was continuing forward with dignity. I kept my head raised and allowed the universe to handle everything else. I closed that chapter with an overwhelming sense of relief. It was not because I had watched them fail. I felt relieved because I was finally and completely free from them. Thank you for listening to today's story. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. See you in the next story.